It's Doran Corkum here from Whitefire Comics, going live on a multiple platforms we're hoping tonight, and hopefully doing it correct this time. So tonight I just want to go over a couple things. First off, I want to do the promotion of, hey, Raquel Quint's Curse. It's my Kickstarter. It's out there. I need some support and love on it. I'll just pop it up on screen and show it off a little bit. So this is the Kickstarter itself. I'm thinking I need 30 more fans at least to make this happen, and I've only got 10 days left. So if you haven't supported it, support it now. Rewards start at $10, and I'll just quickly go through the campaign. So what is Raquel's Quint's Curse would probably be some of people's questions out there. So I'll just mention it's a supernatural comic book series where a hidden Templar order collides with dark forces over the damned hamlet of Raquel. So this is obviously a horror series or supernatural series, and it's really cool. The art's amazing, as you will see down below here. So here, I got a prelude here on the Kickstarter, and then we're going to get into some of the covers by Aja. So just some really great art. We got Keeper here, who his name implies what he is, and what we know about him. We just know he's a keeper of things, a keeper of secrets, etc., etc. Here is the cover by Aja about the demonic character in the series called Mangrel, one of the major Raquels, which is a species of demons. So just a heads up there, beautiful art. And then down here we've got our limited print covers by Derek Stevens. Some really creepy stuff here, especially this back. His version of Mangrel here is pretty dang cool. Give you a little art preview. Here's the inside art. I mean, it's amazing. How could you not want to support this? You're crazy if you don't. It's all up to me in getting the story in there at this point, and then it will be ready to go. The rewards, I've made a bunch of tiers. Again, they start at $10 Canadian, not American, $10 Canadian, and then they go all the way up to around $150, and that includes the collector's edition, which is included in the Fright Night bundle and inside of the Comic Collector's Nightmare bundle. And as well, there's sticker sets by the ever popular Ariel Mandel, who is the current artist, I believe, for Evil Ernie. If anyone ever remembers that series, I remember back in the 90s. So that's coming back to life in some forms. I got some more art in here by Igor and David, and it's some pretty cool little art cards. My own little skull and a stick bookmark. Why not? Collector's card sets, and this is the really cool part to this particular Kickstarter, and that is that there's a bunch of card sets, oversized card sets on 6x9s, and some of these are sold out that are done by Aja, as you'll see here. But the art is amazing. I still got the Rodney's Angelic Power bundle available. Just an FYI, it's out there. And then I did my own card set. I'm not a pro, but my art's not bad, and it's getting there. So I thought, you know what, this will help support the project. So that is that card set. And I just added this recently this week. 3 more cards by Aja that will be sold separately. So $50 each, their original character art. So it's the first ever piece of art based on that character. So just an FYI, it's out there. And now today we're going to be talking about CorelDRAW and how to do a little bit of editing of a logo. You may want to do a little effect you might see on a lot of comic book covers, how to do it as simple as possible. So let's switch over to CorelDRAW. Okay, so this is actually a sneak peek here of the remastered cover of the Forsaken Future #1 that I'm working on with David Dion right now. The colors are by David Ocampa. Great stuff here. I just got it in, and I was doing some work, and I thought I should share this out and show this to people. So a lot of the time you have art, and you will see this kind of, how did they get this part of the piece of art over top of this vector logo? So first what I'm going to show is kind of the parts of the puzzle here. I'm going to ungroup it in CorelDRAW and just show you that there's various pieces of puzzle to the cover. So you'll see this little part of the gun here. We needed to get that over top of the text. So it's actually a duplication of the original piece of art that is over here. So I'll show you this, how we accomplish this here in a second. And I'll do it quickly, so it won't be a perfect job, but just to give you the ideas, you'd have to spend a little more time doing it yourself. So how you do this type of effect is you need to first place the image underneath, like have this all set up. So just like this, so that you have everything perfectly placed, because moving it around afterwards can be a little bit painful to do. So what we do is, and in this case, we need to duplicate this layer that's the actual piece of art from the artist, colored, in this case from David Ocampa, and I'm going to copy it using Control-C and Control-V to create two instances of it. So there's now two of them here. So just to show you, I've got two pieces, but they're over top of each other, so you can't see that they're both there when you visibly look at the screen. So what you do now is I'm now going to take that piece of art and put it over top of everything. It's perfectly placed over top of the other one. And what you then need to do, particularly in CorelDRAW or in whatever software you're using, is now edit the bitmap in the bitmap editor. CorelDRAW is a suite, comes with vector software, bitmap editing software. It's really a whole package, a font manager, and some other collaboration tools. But anyways, in this case, we're going to edit the bitmap. This is launching a software called Corel Photo Paint. You can have it hooked up to other softwares, I believe, as well. Like you can have this up to your Clip Art Studio or Manga Studio or whatever other software you're using. And when we open that software, we will now see that piece of art. Well, actually, I think I had it open before, so I want to make sure I'm working on the right one. I'm actually going to close Photo Paint down and do that again. So I'm going back and clicking and hitting Edit Bitmap. There we go. It's important that you have the right one, because I've done this a couple times. I had 3 different versions of it open. All right. So inside the Corel Photo Paint, you'll see this. That's a little bit of a refresh happening there, but we now need to isolate this top part of the gun, right? We need to make everything else disappear and the top part of the gun appear. There's a couple ways you can do this, and I'll show you both quickly. But one is you always use, a lot of people would use or traditionally use what's called masking tools in your toolbox. So over here on the left-hand side, you'll see the toolbox. So there's a variety of different type of tools over here. I'll just to show you how they work. Masks isolate an area of an image. So in this case, these little marching ants, we used to call them, right? I think they're still called that. It shows you the area you've affected. So in this case, we've just selected over his head and said, hey, I want to do something, but I don't want to affect everything. So here's a quick example just to educate. I'm going to put a Gaussian blur to an extreme level over top. See how everything blurred out over his head, but not everywhere else. We've isolated it to this masking area. And then you can invert the mask. So in this case, cancel it off, and which is important to doing this effect we're doing. And if I now hit invert up here at the top, Control-Shift-I in this case, and then we do the same effect again, you'll see I've preserved the art within the mask because I inverted the mask. So it's the outside area that now is being blurred instead of the inside area. So just a heads up on basics of masking. There's a variety of different tools within the masking sections that you can generally use. A lot of people will see this one called a magic wand. I'm just going to clear the current mask off. The magic wand reacts to tolerance of colors. So for instance, if I click here and I have a tolerance up here at the top of 10, see how it selected this particular area. But if I put this tolerance up in the toolbar, top left of the screen, up to 100, and I click again, I'm saying, hey, use every color in the rainbow, basically, to do something. See how long it's taking it to react? Right now, it's thinking hard about the whole sets of colors on the product to select. So see how the marching ants are now around I hope you can see this, around the edge of the image. Because we said, let's do a tolerance of like 97 to 100, it went through the colors of the rainbow, just as an example, a gamut of colors, and said, all right, I'm expanding this out that far. So for instance, you can isolate it very quickly. But anyways, this is kind of a side topic. So let's say I do it to 17 now and I pick the same area. We had 3 or something like that before. Watch what happens. We're saying 3 different variations or 3 levels of tolerance. Oh, it still goes, oh, oops, that's 17. Anyways, I don't want to mess around with this right now. Let's get back to isolating the area of the item. So within these masking tools, there's a couple different ones you could use. Again, I'm going to use one. There's a lasso mask and a freehand mask that generally people would use. So I'm going to pick the lasso mask, and just what it does is as you click, it follows it. So I'm going to click here, click along here, click in here. Oops. You know what? It has a bug where it doesn't display correctly when you zoom in. So hang on here. Let me fit this to screen so we can see it a little bit better. Okay. So you click what you want to keep. In this case, we want to keep the gun, right? So I'm clicking along the edge, just roughly. We don't have to be perfect here in this case. I'll show you why in a minute. Look at me go. And then in this case, you double click at the end of it, and it completes the mask and says, I want to work with this particular area of the graphic. In our case, we want to get rid of everything else, but keep the gun. So I'm now going to invert the mask. And I'm going to now on the object docker, in this case, it'll be a layer docker instead of Photoshop or Clip Art Studio or something along that nature. You need to make sure that it's not the background object anymore and convert it to a layer, or in this case, an object layer within PhotoPaint. This is important because you need to remove it kind of being stuck to this white color all the time, and you need it to become transparent in this case. So I've selected this, I've inverted it, and then I've made sure that the background, it's not a background layer anymore, it's an object layer. So watch what happens. When I do, in this case, I'm going to do an edit and I'm going to do a cut. What you're going to see happen is everything else is pretty much gone, right? So you're down to this kind of just the piece of the gun, which is what we want to layer on top of the logo in this case. So we're just going to clean it up a little bit. There's always eraser tools in every one of these types of things. And I'm just going to do it really rough, but you can see all these little speckle things. To have perfection, you got to spend a little bit of time, but I'm just going to quickly, just for effects purposes only, just kind of go in here and quickly clean it up so it doesn't look too bad. Again, we could have been more precise with the tool, but where you're doing a video here, I just want to make it as quick as possible and not bore us with me sitting here clicking more accurately for whatever reason. So in the sake of time, so I just did a quick kind of shoot around the edge with the eraser. I'm now going to hit save. And once you hit save after you've done this edit bitmap out of CorelDRAW in this particular case, if you go back to CorelDRAW, you'll see that the gun is here, right? All by itself. And the next part you need to do, I think is probably pretty obvious to people, is you need to line it up to the actual original art. So in this case, we got a couple pretty good lines we can compare it to. It's pretty close. There we go. So see, once I line that up, boom, we've now got that piece of art over top of a logo within a software. So we created that actual effect, right? So if we Control X away, oops. I'm not selecting the right spot. Oh, there it goes. So Control V to bring it back in. So pretty cool, huh? So I wanted to show another way to do this that is maybe not as traditional, but let's give it a shot. Well, not traditional. It's probably actually more common these days. I'm going to get rid of it again. I'm going to go back and put the bitmap over top. This is kind of a quicker way to do it if you know how to do this if you investigate how to do this stuff in the software you're working in. A lot of softwares these days have something called cutout labs, and they're meant to isolate parts of an image fairly quickly. So in this case, we're going to go to Edit Bitmap again, back into CorelDRAW. In this case, the cutout lab, I don't think you need to separate the background. It automatically knows you want to isolate a part of the image. We'll try it and see what happens. So if I go under, I believe it's Image, in this case, Cutout Lab, you'll get a little lab. And in this lab, there's actually a little highlighter tool. And if you go into the highlighter tool, In this case, for purposes, I'm going to make it a lot bigger. This is going to make it a little bit less accurate, but you can go in like this. Yeah, you should be doing this very accurate. I'm going to do this very rough, and we'll see what happens. Or you would zoom in and you go, oh, that's a little bit crazy. I'm doing this with a mouse, so typically you wouldn't want to do this with a mouse. Well, you can do it with a mouse. It's just a little more time consuming. And you isolate an area, in this case, kind of like with the mask, and you use this fill tool at the top right, and you say, this is the area I want to keep. And then it has a little preview button, so you can see the quality of what you're going to get out of it. So right now it's doing it. So see how it removed it? Now this is really rough because we did it really rough, but I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to hit save again. And I go back to CorelDRAW. We'll now have the gun again. You know, same sort of thing. You line it up to the, I mean, it's going to be really ugly in this case because we didn't spend the time we should have. But anyways, I wanted to show just a couple different ways you can do this. A lot of people, when they're doing streams or doing whatever, they might want to do a logo design and have this kind of layering effect on it. And this was a good way to do it. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about tonight. I just wanted to do a quick little stream up, say hello, let you know that Raquel Quint's Curse is out there. It needs your support. And hopefully I'm testing this streaming tool out, Restream. So hopefully this is going to work this time and actually be on multiple platforms at once, and save me a lot of effort. So that's the end of the game here. One more point to mention. I figured, again, to get my Kickstarter successful, I need 3 fans a day. Share around, go to Kickstarter, search for Raquel, tell a friend. I need all the support I can. It's worth it. It's a win-win. This is amazing art. It's going to be a great story. I just need the help to get this thing lifted off the ground. All right. Thank you. Stay fresh, my friends. And I am going to get the heck out of here. Later, all.